Hello everybody, welcome to Chow Time. I am Spike Spencer. Welcome to my kitchen yet again. And today we're going to be working with something that, I don't know, it's got a bad rap, I guess. Brussels sprouts. I know, look at them. They're tiny, they're harmless, they're not going to hurt you. Unless you cook them wrong, which most of the time people overcook them and then they smell like farts. Yeah, not great. However, there's probably one way that you have not had them before. And we're going to do that today. We're going to make a raw Brussels sprout salad. I know, you don't think about it that much. So, Brussels sprouts, when you deal with them, there's a lot of them. They're tiny. And there's a lot of cutting that goes on. Now, you could go ahead and cut them in a, if you had a Cuisinart or something like that, if you wanted to do that. I like cutting because it's kind of a meditation for me, actually. I do transcendental meditation. And I've done a lot of cooking, and so my cooking, people are like, oh, you know, you should do that in a Cuisinart or something, make it faster. I'm like, no, I like it. It's sort of a moving meditation. Like my wife, for example, she runs, and she calls that her meditation. So if you want to get into some of that, you know, sharpening knives, I do that as kind of a meditation too. But you can use this for Brussels sprouts, for cutting anything you want. You can work on your cutting skills. And that's what I like to do. I like to try to get better every day. So we'll start with our little Brussels sprouts, and this is what they look like. You know what they look like. I like to do it by hand for a couple of reasons. One, cut off the end, so you got that. And then these leaves fall off. A couple of leaves will fall off. Okay, some of those will fall off there, and then you're left with this Brussels sprout. Well, a lot of times inside those leaves, you have to look. And sometimes there's some junk in there, like I think there was one over here. You see how it's a little junky in there? And I see that, and I go, okay, well, I don't really want that one. So I can get rid of that leaf, a couple of these leaves, and say, okay, that's kind of nasty up in there. Because sometimes critters will hide up in there, dirt will hide up in there, maybe a little bad patch or something, and you see that. Now, the easiest way to do it is to cut them in half. What I'm doing, the reason why I'm cutting them in half is that you want to have a flat base when you're cutting. Most of you probably already know this, but if you don't, that's, oh, see, here's a spot that was not looking great. So I'm going to go ahead and get that off of there. And these, by the way, Brussels sprouts are basically little tiny cabbages. That's really all they are. So anything you can do with a cabbage, you can do with a Brussels sprout. As a matter of fact, I just made a batch of Brussels sprout sauerkraut. Never done it before. I figured I'd give it a shot. I have not checked on it yet. It's been a couple of days, so we'll see how that goes. You know, maybe I'll make a little video on that. I do have a video on how to make sauerkraut. That is probably, I'll put that up at the end of this, so that'll be a video for you to watch, which would be pretty awesome. And because I love making sauerkraut, I really do. Okay, now that we've got them in half, like that, you can lay them on the flat side, and now you've got this great area to look at. Now, here's the reason why I say, see how I cut that? How that is, I don't know if you can see that. There's a little something in there. Well, now I can see that, and it won't go in my actual food. Whereas if I was just doing that with a Cuisinart or whatever, God knows what's in there, right? Okay, so we're going to be cutting like this. I should probably do a show on cutting on knife skills. So, cutting them very thin, very small, like that. And they're going to come, crinkle up, and go in there. So, like I said, moving meditation, or we can just go super, super fast and get to the end. Either way, I am going to cut these up and have some fun and think about my life. As my friend would say, I'm going to sit there and think about myself. All right. So here we go. Cut, 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 chop, chop, chop. There we go. Whew. And that was all that cutting. Now, this is the star of the show, Brussels sprouts. Mix them all up, give them a little, so some of them are going to be, you know, still kind of combined, stuck together. So give them a little Move around with your hands, no big deal. It's all good. Wash your hands first, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right, so we've got these broken up. And now, this is kind of go wherever you want to go with it. One thing I like to have with my Brussels sprouts is some color. So, I would like to go with a red onion. Oh, red onion. It's purple, damn it. Purple onion and pepper. Got it? So, purple onion, pepper, and I got a little carrot. So, let's start with the purple onion. Get rid of that off there. So that is no trashiola. And I like, so these are thin. So when you got a thin salad, keep it thin. Keep everything kind of the same way. I'm going to do a slaw later. I'll show you, but that'll be another recipe, another video. But you want to have things thin. See how things are kind of thin here? I want to keep them kind of thin there. There's going to be a little bit of a texture difference, but I like to keep it kind of together on this one. If you want to switch out textures in different salads, of course you can totally do that. I'm going to put a little bit more onion in there because I like a little more onion. I'm very fond of onions. I put them in just about everything, much to the chagrin of my 7-year-old, who lets me know every damn time. All right, we've got some purple onion in there. Now we're going to put some red pepper in there, or a capsicum, as they are known in Australia, UK, etc., and so on and so forth, and whatnot. All right, hit that a little bit. I keep them a little bit longer so that there's some crunch to it. There's not a lot of crunch to the Brussels sprouts, so the texture is going to be a lovely mixture of a little crunchy. I mean, the Brussels sprouts aren't going to be soggy, but once I put the vinaigrette in there, yes, I'm going with the vinaigrette, it will change the texture of it after a little bit. So, there we go. We have some red pepper in there. And now for a little bit of carrot, no big deal. I want to cut them thin. I'm going to julienne the carrot. And I had these little petite carrots lying around, so I was like, ooh, yeah, I'll put some of that in there. That'd be cool. In half, give me a nice short julienne. So they sprinkle along in there. And they look fabulous. About as happy. Now, Brussels sprouts, obviously with the name Brussels, you're like, gee, where did they come from? What are Brussels sprouts all about? Well, they were mainly cultivated in Europe, in Brussels, near Brussels, in Belgium. And that was in the 18th century, I believe it was. That's when they were really cultivated, and then it came over to, they were all in Europe, and then came over to America, and children can gripe and bitch and moan about them ever since. Here we go. We have our salad. Woohoo! Looking good. We're going to mix it up with our hands. Actually, you know what? We go ahead and do the vinaigrette. Now, I've done a different show. I always save my vinaigrette bottles and make my own vinaigrette. Put it all in the bottle and shake it up like this. I've done an episode on vinaigrette, so there will be a link afterward if you want to learn about vinaigrettes. I have a show there, so you can watch that right after this, probably in about a minute and two, because we're almost done here. So we'll take the vinaigrette, we'll pour a little over, whoop, not too much, whoop. I got messy. And then I'll hit it with a little salt and pepper. And now I'm reading some of my light cooking reading. Some of you, like me, I love to read cookbooks and training and whatnot, because I'm a student. I've been training for 30 years, and I'm just always a student. I just always want to learn. I'm a glorified cook, and I love it. So James Beard's theory and practice of good cooking, and he talks about at the very beginning. He talks about getting your hands in everything. He said in the batters and sauces and everything. He said use your hands, because there's a certain feeling to your cooking that you want to understand. So I wash my hands, and I'm going to get in there with the vinaigrette. Now, the thing about vinaigrettes, if you have any slight paper cuts or anything like that you don't know, you will soon. I'm going to mix this around. Beautiful sprout salad. This is a way that most people don't really think about sprouts, and it's really nice. So they're in the cabbage family. They're like kale and they're brassica, broccoli leaves, things like that. And here we go. I am mixed it all up, and I am putting it in a bowl. Give it a nice little, here we go. All right. We have some good color. Now, whenever I put the vinaigrette in there, I didn't want to overdo it. I just want to coat the leaves. And by using my hand, I noticed that, yeah, it had a good feel. It was still crunchy. There wasn't oozing stuff all over the place. There wasn't vinaigrette everywhere. And I don't have paper cuts. So that's nice to know. So then I will probably sprinkle a little bit more salt and pepper. I know salt on salad, believe it or not, that's one of my tricks. I love to put a little bit of salt on salad. If you put salt on cabbage or any vegetables, it's going to suck the moisture out. So a little bit at the end helps kind of bring out some of those flavors inside. And I'll hit it with a little bit of parsley on top. Give it a little extra darker green. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a Brussels sprouts salad with a red wine vinaigrette. Also, a really good vinaigrette that would go well with this is a warm bacon vinaigrette. But then again, warm bacon goes good with anything, doesn't it? It sure does. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Brussels sprouts salad. Give it a go. Great side dish for anything. Anything like when you're thinking Thanksgiving and Christmas, throw this together on the side. And if you don't want to go through the meditation of, cutting it for all that long, it took me a couple of minutes. It really wasn't that big of a deal. But you can also use a slicer. But I highly recommend if you use a slicer, you got to have one with a guard on it because these things, little things like slice, finger, and that hurts. So do that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to Chow Time, to my kitchen. I'm Spike Spencer. This is Chow Time, and let's eat.